SEW Eurodrive, now empowered.
From Creamer Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Our top stories this week. Acsa launches the OR Tambo Airport Management Centre. A look at South Africa's first Green Star certified building. And we speak to Caterpillar CEO Jim Owens. Airport Company South Africa has officially launched the OR Tambo International's Airport Management Centre. Jacqueline Holman has the story.
The Airport Management Centre, which has been operational since May this year, has already resulted in an improvement of departure times and airport efficiency. OR Tambo International's Director of Operations, Bongani Maseko, explains the purpose of the centre.
The purpose of the AMC is fundamentally to improve the performance of the airport. By improving the performance of the airport, we enhance the experience of the passenger coming through the airport. So it's managing all of the processes involved in processing passengers, involved in processing aircraft, and involved in processing baggage. All of the people that you see sitting in the center are around that, and the sole purpose is just to enhance the passenger experience, but to enhance the performance of the airport.
The idea was first developed and implemented at the Zurich International Airport in 2004. Zurich International Airport Head of Operations, Andrea Baroni, describes the three main elements of an AMC.
There's three main elements. We have the AMC, which is mainly helping the communication and which helps, of course, build that family feeling that all the stakeholders at the airport are working for the same reason here, to have a good operation. And the communication is crucial in operating a kind of an operation control. Then the transparency, you need a system which shows you what happens, otherwise you don't know what you talk about. And third is the governance.
The AMC is also aimed at readying the local aviation industry for the 2010 FIFA World Cup.
I think 2010, as you know, it's going to be a very busy time for us at most of our airports, I should say. And so having all of the industry role players, or the operational ones, at least in one room, able to solve problems very, very quickly, that's really going to be a major benefit for us during the World Cup. And that's why we would like the centre also up and running for Cape Town, because what is commonly referred to as the Golden Triangle, Cape Town, Durban and Johannesburg, are going to be very, very busy airports.
SEW Eurodrive, now empowered.
South Africa has its very first Green Star certified building. Christy van der Merwe was at the roof wetting celebrations of the office building.
Located in the heart of Sandton, Phase 2 of the Nedbank head office campus, which will be completed by May 2010, has been awarded a 4-star Green Star design rating. The 4-star rating represents best practice under the Green Building Council of South Africa's Office Version 1 rating tool. The team responsible for securing the rating tell us about the project.
Green is not new. Green has been around for a long time, but the green rules are new. So although a lot of the green principles were already there in Phase 1, the rules are new, and they push you to do it better, further, differently.
And the Green Star tool sets certain rules for a green building, or it actually sets a framework to measure a green building. So in terms of materials, you'll have concrete that has a certain fly ash potential, so it has a certain recycled content, similar for steel. It also looks at the indoor environmental quality of the building, the VOC, the low VOC paints, where less toxins are released in the building, and therefore creating a healthier environment. It looks at energy, it looks at water efficiency, it looks at the emissions of the building as an impact on the further environment of the building. So it looks very broadly at many aspects of green buildings. So it's not just energy efficiency, but it's way more than that. Green Star is a very intensive process, so we had to guide the professional team to give us the right documentation to submit for the green rating. And the Green Star, it's new. So for each and every professional, it was the first experience with the tool and the first experience to go through the whole process. So I think that was a huge challenge, but we made it.
There is a significant cost in going green, especially when you're the guinea pig like we've been, being the first building to be rated. I think going forward the costs will be less, but on this building with the construction costs in the order of 600 million, just over 600 million, the additional costs has probably been in the region of 20 or slightly over 25 million. So that's 3 to 3.5% cost increase on the building. But I think going forward that cost increase will be less. And even on this project we found there ways we could have probably done things better. So to achieve a 4-star rating, your cost should be less than 3%. The outgoings on a green building are less than what they are on a conventional building. So there is a payback period. And with the price of electricity and water going up at the rate it is, those payback periods will just get shorter and shorter.
There is a 75% chance that the world economy will emerge from the current recession to see some growth going forward, even if small, says Caterpillar CEO Jim Owens. Irma Fenter has the story.
Visiting South Africa from the US, Owens, an economist by training, says it is likely the world economy will recover going forward, even if growth will be relatively anemic. He says any growth is likely to be led by high infrastructure needs and urbanization, particularly in emerging economies such as India and China.
These economies are at a stage of growth now that there's a significant emergent middle class and rising standards of living. And so they're in a kind of a commodity-intensive phase of GDP growth in their economic development. And this would be true particularly for China and India, but also Indonesia, most of the rest of South and Southeast Asia, big population centers, good parts of Latin America, parts of the Middle East, the southern cone of Africa, South Africa, and hopefully working north, and parts of Eastern Europe and the CIS. So it's a very interesting period of economic history we're getting ready to go through, and the global growth is going to be led by this emerging market theater, which should be thought of differently than it was in the past, particularly because of the emergent middle class in those countries in the stage of economic development.
However, Owens, who also serves on US President Barack Obama's Economic Recovery Advisory Board, highlights that the world economy is not out of the woods yet and that a 25% chance exists that the recession will deepen.
Things could fall apart. The big risk, we think, particularly are in the developed economies. Non-residential construction hasn't plummeted as much as residential yet, but that shoe could yet drop and be ugly. The bigger risk probably are central banks getting too concerned about inflation and raising interest rates rapidly and early before the recovery really gets a grip. And I think, not stated on here, but maybe the biggest risk of all is nationalism and protectionism rearing its ugly head. In the last, Great Recession of the 30s, it turned to a depression because countries turned inward.
And now for a sneak preview of this week's Engineering News magazine. In our cover story, Public Works Minister Jeff Deutsch says that he is confident that the target for 500,000 jobs set by President Jacob Zuma will be met by the end of the year. We report the details of South Africa's cancellation of its A400M military airlifter contract. And the first of 2 units of a 100 million rand 7-megawatt hydropower plant near Bethlehem has been launched. And in Mining Weekly this week, in our cover story, we report that illegal mining is now recognized as organized crime by South African courts. We report that the Zimbabwe government has withdrawn the coal mining concession it had awarded to Zimbabwe Power Company. And South African Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe says that there are no immediate plans to nationalize the country's mining industry. That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insights into South Africa's real economy.
Engineering News not just for engineers.